well, if I can't go back to Cape Town, I might as well kill myself. And this is the third time now that I was trying to kill myself. So I got on the bridge at the airport.
All right, are you ready?
Yeah, yeah.
Are you recording?
Recording?
All right, in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, family. My name is Chiquile Gilbert. I'm 22. I'm originally from Cape Town, and this is my story. So my story starts when the day I gave my life to God at the 418 Youth Conference a little over a month ago. But before I gave my life to God, my life was in turmoil. It was torture. It started when I was young. I was like 3 or 4 years old. I lost someone like really close to me. He was like a father to me, and I've never known my own father. He's been there. I've seen him. I know his face and know his name, but he's never been in my life. And when I lost him, his name was Jean. And when I lost him, he took a big chunk of me with him when he left. And there was just this sort of small part of my heart that I was just protecting from everyone around me. And then later on, as my life progressed, I just shut myself off from other people. And I couldn't like open myself or let anyone in. And when I was 5 years old, my mother and I, we moved from where we were staying, Atlantis in Cape Town, and we moved closer to the CBD area. And in my mind, she had taken me away from my family because they were the only comfort I had at the time. And, I kind of resented her for that. But weird thing is, I don't have any memory of my mother before I turned 8 years old. And when I was 8 years old, that's when things sort of just went downhill. My mother and I were staying with this family that she had met, a friend of hers at work. And we were staying there, and we had to join this church, a Seventh-day Adventist church. And I didn't really like going to church before, and I certainly didn't like the Seventh-day Adventist church. There were too many rules. You're not allowed to eat pork. You can only go from Friday evening to Saturday evening without touching a phone or a television. There was so many rules. And my life before was freedom. I had my family gave me freedom before I was 5 years old, and in my mind, I had been staying with my mother for a year since I was 8. So for that year, just trying to adapt to these people's rules and stuff and trying to live, it was tough. And then at church, I was basically just there to sleep. So at the Sabbath school, there was this one boy that I met, and we kind of became friends. And I thought he was my friend, actually, but he wasn't. Because as he sort of got trusting with me, he saw that I was a very submissive person. I was originally very weak. I was very small. I was very skinny, and I was weak-minded. I lived my life in a bubble, so safety was always something that my mother prioritized or my family prioritized. And so I never knew dangers of the world, and he sort of knew that. And so he started molesting me, and then eventually it progressed to sexual assault, and it hurt, and I couldn't take that anymore. And his friends sort of joined in every now and then, and I was sort of the object of their fun. And because I couldn't trust anyone, I couldn't trust my mother. In my mind, I'd been staying with my mother for a year, so I couldn't trust her because I'd only known her for a year. And I couldn't trust my family because they were staying so far away from the city. And I couldn't trust my friends at school because I'd only known them for a year as well. So I didn't have anyone I could depend on. And so I couldn't tell anyone. I just kept it a secret. And within that, this darkness sort of grew, and it just spiraled out of control. I was committing crime. I was stealing. I was lying to my friends and family. I had known my best friend since I was 8 years old, and to this day, he's never heard anything I've said and anything I'm going to say right now. And so I've been lying to my family and my mother and my friends about my life on the outside, I would put this appearance that I'm this happy person, but on the inside, I was just dying. I was just darkness. And when I was 16 years old, I tried to commit suicide. The pressure at school had gotten really high. I was at this school where my personal best was mediocre to everyone else. And I couldn't, survive in that sort of environment, and it got pressured. And so I was like, I'm done. I'm going to kill myself. And what was significant about that was someone actually stopped me. This girl, she knocked on the door. She was like, hello, what's your name? I need the bathroom. And my trauma started with those words, hello, what's your name? Every time I was in trauma or in a traumatic experience, I would hear those words. So the first time I tried to commit suicide, bam, 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 hello, what's your name? And I had to let go of the noose that was around my neck. I was struggling to breathe. And so I had to let go of the noose around my neck at school. Got out of the bathroom. I walked out, and then my teachers caught me. That day I'd stolen someone's phone. And so they pulled me into the principal's office. They were like, why were you stealing? And they were like, why are you not doing your work? Why are you lazy? At that point, I was just like, if nothing could capture my heart, then it wasn't worth anything to me. So school was just worth nothing to me. And so they were like, why are you lazy? Why are you not doing your work? And then that day I was like, I'm done with this. And then that week I was out of the school. I'd left the school. And that week I was just stuck at home, like trying to think like, man, what am I going to do? What is all of this? Like, and we had to go and see a psychologist, both me and my mom, but it didn't work. Like, this guy lived in a privileged background, so he didn't know trauma. He didn't know pain. And so he also didn't know darkness the way I did, I knew darkness, and when you know darkness, you can recognize it in someone else. So, that same day, I was like, I need to release this darkness. So I stole my mother's money, and I went on a joyride. I wanted to see if I don't have anything on me, like if I don't have the clothes on my back, if I don't have my mother, my family, my friends, then who am I? I wanted to know if this thing within me that just wants to hurt others, like what does it mean? And so I took that time, and I went out and I explored like a lot of Cape Town. I went to Strand, I went to Blue Rock. It was all the places where I had good memories. I was actually trying to recall some things in my life that I'd forgotten. All the happy memories in my life, they were fading away, and so I was trying to recall some things. And then I even went and I tried to see what it would like to be homeless. I went to the homeless districts in Cape Town. There's this underground tunnels called like in District 6 area. I stayed there. I was there for like a couple of hours there with some homeless people. And then I was like, yeah, I can't be homeless. I'm capable of doing that. And then I took a long walk home, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to be anyone. I've just got this thing in me that wants to hurt, this thing in me that's darkness. And so I wanted to kill myself again. It was the second time now. And I'd planned the route out. I knew how far I was walking. I was walking from Cape Town all the way to Muizenberg, so CBD to Muizenberg. And I had timed the train lines because I traveled with public transport for so long. I knew every single train line and every time there was, every schedule. So I timed it all the way till I walked there, and I was just gonna move in front of this train around a certain bend and kill myself. But before the train could even get to me, it had stopped. And I didn't know why, so I kept walking towards the train. And then this lady walks out and she's like, hello, what's your name? And I was like, I'm hearing these words again. Here's the same, I'm having another traumatic experience and I'm hearing these words again. And she's like, why were you standing on the tracks? And Next thing I know, there were police officers there, and I'm like, okay, I gotta get out of here. So I ran, and I made a fool of the police. There were like 5 cars chasing me that evening. I was running through people's yards. I was jumping over fences. I was running on rooftops. I was hiding under cars. I made a fool out of the police that evening, and then eventually the neighborhood watch in the area, they called me and they called my mom, and my mom came down and she took me home. And I was just quiet. I didn't want to speak to my mother. I didn't want to speak to my family. They were there. I didn't want to speak to my friends. I was just like, what's the point of speaking to anyone? And then that same day, the next day, I was at Pick and Pay, and I was like, maybe I should just go to jail. If I go to jail for what I've done, then surely maybe something there can save me. So I went to Pick and Pay, and I intentionally stole something, and I pretended it was my first time to steal. And they caught me, the police. They put me in a van, and they took me around to all the gangster areas. I already knew most of them in Muizenberg, so I wasn't much surprised about any of that. And then they took me to the police station, and they left me there. And then I was like, you're not taking me to jail? And they were like, no, it was just a petty crime. And I was like, but I've done some things in my life, and that's all wrong. And they were like, what are we going to do about it? So they didn't care. And I was like, so who else can I turn to at this point? And so that point, I was just sick. I had this darkness in me, and I didn't know where to let it out to. And then that same week or so, I think it was the next month, my mother, she put me into college, and I was going to study engineering, fitting and turning. And the first year was great. I was doing well. I pushed myself to sort of maybe find a niche in engineering, but it didn't work. Because the second year came, and there were some people there, the gangsters. I guess they saw within me that darkness. They saw within me that ability of mine to have no empathy or no remorse. And they wanted to use that. And so they were like, we'll give you some drugs. And if you do the drugs, if you get drugs, if you do some things. And at college, I got addicted to drugs. I started off with weed, and then once a month, it became, when the local drug load came around, I would be on heroin or cocaine. So that was like once a month, but weed was one thing I was focused on. After I had experienced that, knowing that there was no empathy within me, I could kill anyone, I realized this is not good for me. So I wanted to leave college, and I bunked college for, I think it was like the middle of that year. I bunked college, and I just went surfing. I found surfing, and surfing became a new niche for me. I became really good at it. I was a surf instructor. I was the tiniest kid. I was the tiniest surf instructor there, but I was coaching adults from all over the world. They were from other countries and other places. So I had something that I could actually hold on my own, and it was the first thing that I could hold on my own. And then at that point, I found out that my mother had cancer, so I didn't really want to stay at home either. So home was just not good for me, and I was just like, nah, what are we gonna do? And then my mother was like, okay, we're gonna move to Joburg. And I was like, what? Why are we moving to Joburg? I have it so good here. I have surfing. I have friends here. And she was like, no, we're moving to Joburg. And I was like, okay. So we moved to Joburg, and I went to a new school there. This was because they found out that I was bunking college, and they were like, so they left. So I had to leave the college, and I joined a new school here in Johannesburg. And we were staying here, and we were constantly moving all around Joburg, Pretoria. Like, we didn't have like one set place to move into. And so basically I was away from the very things that kept me stable. Even though I wasn't at college, I was still on drugs. I found another drug dealer. So I did have drugs, and I had surfing, and those things kept me stable. And I had my best friend. My best friend we've stayed friends since I was 8, but he was the only solace I had. Only those three things, nothing else. And I was like, this is, I'm away from these things. I'm away from the things that kept me stable. So I was like, you know what? I'm sick of this. I stole my mother's money again, and bought myself a plane ticket. I took a car and I just drove it to the airport, and was gonna get on the plane and just go back to Cape Town. In my mind, I had the ability to live on my own. I mean, if I was at the surf shop, I was earning enough money to buy food. I was earning enough money to buy drugs. I was earning enough money to do what I wanted, to go out with my friends. So I was like, I could live on my own off of the surf shop, off of my ability to be a surf instructor there. And then I was like, I'm gonna get back there. And then before I could even leave on the plane, they found out and they stopped the tickets. And then I was like, okay, well, if I can't go back to Cape Town, I might as well kill myself. And this is the third time now that I was trying to kill myself. So I got on the bridge at the airport, and I was standing there, and it wasn't windy at all. It was so weird, but there was no wind that evening. And as I was about to jump, this gust of wind just like blows me away, and then I fall down on the ground, and this lady comes up, and she's a police officer, and she's like, "Hello, what's your name?" Those words again. Another traumatic experience, and I was like, man, it's just, what am I gonna do? So I gave up again. My mother took me to another Seventh-day Adventist pastor, and he did try to preach over my life, but I was like, you don't know me. You live in a house that's worth 5 million rand. Like, you don't know me. So I was like, I gave up, and I was just like going with the flow, living my life as is. And then that's basically how my life went until I graduated high school. At high school, things weren't so great either. There were people being killed all the time. So I grew up in a life of crime. And then when I graduated high school, my mother was like, there's an opportunity for you to go flying. An introduction flight. So I said, okay. So I went to the introduction flight, and I was like, finally, here's something that I can focus on. And I wanted to build a career in flying. And my mother, she helped me do that. And then eventually, like 2 years later, I think it was like 2 years later, we were just like moving with the flow, and things weren't always that great. But flying became one thing I could depend on in a way, and then COVID-19 came, and then it was just like, COVID-19 hit everyone out of the water. But for me it was with flying. So and then life just went by, and I was lazy. I didn't really want to do things. I was tired. I didn't know how to continue my career. I had no motivation to do it. And then a couple of months ago, I came back, and then I came back here to Pretoria, and I stayed here, but I had no motivation to continue my license. I wanted to focus on it, but I didn't know how to. And then I came here to NBCFC, and then everything changed. The first time I walked into the church, I was seriously impressed. I mean, my mother and I were sound engineers before, so I heard the sound system. I was like, whoa, hold the phone. I was like, wow, impressive. And then I saw it all set up, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then the worship team started singing, and I heard Gabby's voice. I think the song she was singing was Shekinah Glory, and the first verse of the song was We Wait For You. But it was so crystal clear, and I was like, whoa, hold the phone. This is the worship team? I've never heard this before. Apostle Nikki started preaching, and I was like, whoa, hold the phone. This is what a pastor's saying. Like, he was speaking words of life. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And when they did the altar call, I raised my hand up, and Pastor Nikki walked up to me, and he prayed with me. And when the words, I confess that I'm a sinner, when I said that, this was the first time I was trying to admit all the wrong things I've done in life. And I didn't really like that feeling. I mean, there was this darkness within me, and it didn't want me to tell the truth to anyone. And eventually, I got to the 418 Youth Conference, and I was sitting there, and I was like, do I deserve to be in this church? Like, am I worthy of even being here? I mean, like, do these people even know what I've done and, all the bad things I've seen? I mean, so I was like, maybe I shouldn't be here. And then this girl walks up to me and she's like, hello, what's your name? And I was like, okay, maybe these words aren't for traumatic experience. Maybe every time they were said to me, it was to stop me from going to the extreme. The second time it was said to me was the first time I tried to kill myself. So that saved me. Third time, again, I tried to kill myself, and it was said to me. The fourth time again with a police officer. And now this fifth time, I realized, no, it's a sign, And what's significant about that is the fifth for 5 for me is significant because in the Bible it says on the 5th day God created all the sea animals and the birds in the sky. And to me, I love water and flying. So it was really significant to me, and that became a revelation to me. And then I gave my life to the Lord in that week with the youth conference. And it was a big step for me, admitting and confessing everything that I was doing and that I had done. And it was seriously tough to, go through and experience all the stuff again. But the freedom I got, the peace. I've never lived with love since the day I'd lost John when I was young. So I'd never felt anything for anyone because I was constantly guarding it, and this was the first time I was like, you know what, there's nothing in me left. I've got this darkness within me, and I don't know what to do with it. But everywhere around me in this church, there were just people with the light. And I was like, there's something wrong with this, And then I realized it was because everyone within this church, they don't fear whatever darkness might be within them. They don't fear it. God walks with them, and that is their strength. So they can walk upright. And when I realized that God is their strength, I was like, can he be mine? And then I gave my life to the Lord, and it became a strength for me. Every day I see myself moving forward now. God's put plans in place for me. I mean, after I'd handed my life over to God, I'd sowed a seed a week later, and I said, just for my mom. I didn't have any intention. I didn't write in my feelings. I was just like, this is just for my mother. And then a week later, my mother came and we reconciled after 17 years of never speaking to each other properly. We lived in the same house, but our conversations was like, hello, how you doing? How was work? How was school? And then done. So we reconciled. My car got fixed. My flying career is now on another trajectory. I'm going solo. So ever since giving my life to God, the little miracles that have happened is just insane, and I'm really glad to be here. And if you're watching and you're going through something similar, maybe your family, you don't know your family, or you've lost someone really close to you, then come to NBCFC. You will see the light within the people here. You will know love. You will know what it's like to walk and be confident and never have to face the trials and tribulations. You can walk through any trouble you have with God in your life, and you will never have to fear it, because God, he comforts you. In Psalm 23 it says, your staff and your rod, they comfort me, and God will use that to sort of protect you. And you will never have to face your trials the same way again. You can walk through it and know that at the end of the day, you will prepare a table for you in the midst of your enemies, and you will know peace. You'll know what it's like to be glad to live another day. So yeah, I just want to say a prayer for you. I just want to say, wherever you are right now, I declare upon your life the freedom of fear. I declare upon your life, whatever thing you're going through right now, that it moves away, and I hope that you give your life to God. So I'm praying for you to encounter God like you've never encountered him before, and I just want to bless you with God's glory. In Jesus' name, amen. All right.
Cut.
Thank you for watching this video. We hope it really impacted your life today.
Yes, and if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like it, to share it, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.